According to all aerodynamic laws, the Bumblebee cannot fly because its body weight is not in the right proportion to its wingspan. But ignoring these laws, the bee flies anyway.
Something bad is about to happen to me.
And if you want this exact project file with every animation and effect already done, join the YouTube membership. I've also added a background music track. One important detail about this music: there's a beat drop at around the 8 to 9 second mark. So time it so that the beat drop lines up with the most powerful line of the speech.
Ignoring these laws, the bee flies anyway.
Something bad is about to happen to me.
After the dialogue ends, let the music continue playing on its own. This kind of timing is what makes a speech edit feel emotionally satisfying. Now let's add our opening line of text. I select the text tool, type the first part of the line, select it, go to Properties, and change the font to Helvetica Bold. Now I copy this text layer and type the highlighted word for this line. I change the font of this highlighted word to Edwardian Script, a beautiful flowing italic font that creates a strong contrast against the bold Helvetica. I center align it, increase the size and decrease the line spacing so this highlighted word sits tightly underneath the rest of the line, almost overlapping, very compact and tight together visually. Now I select both text layers, the regular Helvetica line and the highlighted Edwardian Script word, and change their blending mode to Difference. This creates a striking visual effect where the text interacts with whatever is behind it. I adjust the position of the first line of text so it aligns nicely with the highlighted word below it. Everything should feel like one cohesive text block. Now let's animate the first line of text so each word appears one by one, like a typewriter effect. As you know from previous tutorials, we use the crop technique. I cut the text layer at the point where each new word is spoken and add a crop effect to each piece so only the appropriate number of words is visible at each stage. Word by word, the line reveals itself in sync with the voiceover. If you want to study this project file in detail, every keyframe, every crop, every effect, just join the YouTube membership and you'll get the full project file to learn from.
Aerodynamic laws. The Bumblebee.
Once all the words have appeared one by one, I select all the word layers together and nest them. Then I go to Effect Controls on this nested layer and turn on the Position keyframe. I add a small left to right movement throughout the reveal, a subtle slide as the words come in one after another. This little extra movement really enhances that typewriter feeling, making it feel more dynamic rather than static.
According to all aerodynamic laws.
For the highlighted word, I want a flicker effect, like a light turning on and off rapidly before settling. This is very simple to create with opacity keyframes. I turn on the opacity keyframe. First keyframe is 100%. Move forward a few frames, set it to 0%. Move forward again, set it to 25% or 50%. Move forward again, set it to 0%. And for the final keyframe, set it back to 100% and leave it there. This creates a flickering on and off pattern before the word settles into full visibility. You can adjust the timing and number of flickers based on your own taste. Some editors like more flickers, some like fewer. Play around with it until it feels right for the rhythm of your video. Moving to the next scene. First, I create a new white color matte and add it to my timeline as the background for this scene. Now for the text. I copied the text layer from the previous scene and typed my new highlighted word for this scene, then adjusted its position. Then I copy and paste the regular non-highlighted text and type the supporting word, placing it below the highlighted word. Now I bring in 4 to 5 Bumblebee PNG images. I decrease the size of the first one, then copy that same scale parameter and paste it onto all the other Bumblebee images. So they're all resized to the same size at once. Now I move my playhead 10 frames forward. You can do this by pressing Shift and the right arrow key twice. Then I cut all the image layers at this 10 frame mark and arrange them one after another in the timeline. So every 10 frames, the Bumblebee image changes to the next one. This creates a fast, flickering sequence of different Bumblebee images, almost like a stop-motion or slideshow effect. Once arranged, I select all the Bumblebee image layers, right-click, and nest them together into a single sequence. Now, this is important. Make sure your text layer is positioned above the image nest layer in the timeline. Since our text is set to difference blending mode, it needs the images underneath it to react against. The text reacts visually to whatever image is currently showing, creating a constantly shifting, dynamic look. Now, let's animate this nested image layer. I go to Effects and add the Transform effect. First, I increase the shutter angle to 180 degrees for motion blur. Now, I turn on the Position keyframe. I create 3 keyframes. The middle keyframe, at the center of the scene, has the image in its normal, centered position. The first keyframe, at the very start, has the image positioned below the frame, out of view at the bottom. The last keyframe, I copy the values from the first keyframe and paste them at the end, so the image also ends up below the frame, out of view at the bottom. So the overall motion is, the image rises up from the bottom into the center of the frame, and then it sinks back down out of frame at the end. A rise and fall motion. Now I open the graph editor and shape the curve so it looks like this. Fast at the start, slow in the middle, and fast again at the end. This creates a natural deceleration as the image arrives at the center, a brief pause-like moment, and then it speeds up again as it exits downward. I also want the image to rotate slightly while it moves. I turn on the rotation keyframe. First keyframe is minus 20 degrees, second keyframe is plus 20 degrees. I shape the graph so the rotation is slow at the start and fast in the middle, meaning the Bumblebee image rotates noticeably as it passes through the center of the frame before sinking back down. This little rotation adds a playful, organic feeling to the movement, like the Bumblebee is actually buzzing and tumbling through the air. And this scene is ready. For the next scene, I copy and paste the text layer from the previous scene and type my new highlighted and non-highlighted text, placing it at the center of the frame. Then I add a Bumblebee image at the center as well. I add a transform effect to it, and again increase the shutter angle to 180 degrees. This time, instead of coming from the bottom like in the previous scene, the Bumblebee image enters from the top. I turn on the Position keyframe. The first keyframe has the image positioned in the upper half of the frame, above its final resting spot. The second keyframe centers the image. I shape the graph so the image moves fast at the start and settles smoothly into the center. Now I need this image to exit by sliding out to the left side of the screen. To do this, I add a second transform effect to the same image layer, again with an increased shutter angle. I turn on the Position keyframe in this second transform, and at the last keyframe, I move the image far to the left until it's completely off screen. I also turn on the Rotation keyframe in this second transform effect. As the image moves toward the left and exits, it also rotates. Always make sure your graph curves are smooth here. That's what makes the whole exit feel satisfying rather than jerky. Now I want the text to follow the same center-to-left sliding motion as the Bumblebee image, so they exit together as one cohesive unit. To do this, I simply copy the second transform effect from the image layer and paste it onto the text layer. Now the text follows the same position animation at the same speed, timed perfectly with the image. However, I don't want the text to rotate the way the image does. So, in the text layer's transform effect, I delete the rotation keyframes, keeping only the position animation. Make sure to fine-tune the keyframe timing so the image and the text move together in perfect sync, exiting to the left side at the same time. Now I add a new Bumblebee image and decrease its size. I make sure it's centered initially. For the text, I copied and pasted the text layer from the previous scene. The speech mentions a specific word related to the bumblebee's wings, so this becomes our new highlighted word for this scene. Since our text is already set to difference blending mode, it reacts beautifully against the bumblebee image underneath it. I select the text and the image together, right-click, and nest them. Then I increase the size of this nested layer and place it on the right side of the frame with the half-frame positioning as discussed. Now I add the transform effect to this new nested layer. I increase the shutter angle, then turn on both the position keyframe and the rotation keyframe. The first keyframe has the nest positioned off-screen and slightly rotated. The last keyframe has it in its final resting position with rotation back to normal. I select both the last keyframes for position and rotation and choose ease, adjusting the graph so the overall animation feels smooth and satisfying as the nest settles into place. For this final scene, we go back to using the original speech video. I copy and paste the text layer from the previous scene and type my new highlighted word along with the supporting non-highlighted words. There are 3 words in this line, and I arrange the layers so each word appears one by one. For the last line, the closing statement of the speech about the bumblebee flying anyway, I want to use just the audio from the original speech video, not the video footage itself. To do this, I hold Alt and drag the audio out from the video clip. This separates the audio so I can keep just the sound while removing the video from view. Now I add a Bumblebee PNG image and make it smaller. I go to Effects and search for Invert. I add the Invert effect to this image. It creates an inverted color version of the Bumblebee, which looks really striking and artistic for this final closing moment. I copy and paste the text layer from the previous scene and type my closing text. First, I reduce the opacity of the Bumblebee image to around 50%, so it sits subtly in the background. I make sure the text layer is positioned above the image layer. I also change the blending mode of the text from difference back to normal. For this final scene, we want the text to be clean and clearly readable rather than reacting to the background. I type the supporting text first, and then the highlighted closing words. I want this final line to also reveal one word at a time, so I cut the text layer at each word and add the crop effect to each piece, revealing one additional word at a time. The closing line builds up word by word, creating real emotional weight as it lands. At the very end, I add my channel credit, something like edited by the Nix edit. This is a nice professional touch and also helps with branding if your video gets shared or reposted. If you want this exact project file with every single animation, effect, and transition already built and ready to study, join the YouTube membership. You'll get the complete project file instantly. And that's it. From here, you can add your own sound effects and shadows to the images based on your personal taste. Small touches like these can really elevate the final result even further. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your editor friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
According to all aerodynamic laws, the Bumblebee cannot fly because its body weight is not in the right proportion to its wingspan. But ignoring these laws, the bee flies anyway.
And something bad is about to happen to me.